Once the Inca Empire ruled this land, then the Spanish came and conquered. Today, when you visit, you can almost see and hear this history echoing through the halls of time. Join us as we take a journey to the past and present of Ecuador.
Travel. For some, it's a luxurious escape, or maybe an adrenaline-filled adventure. But if you're like me, it's a precious opportunity to discover and to give back. It's time to get real. It's time to get raw. It's time for Rawtravel. South America, each of its countries unique in their culture and history. A land of exotic wildlife and diverse landscapes, there is one massive structure that connects most countries in South America, the Andes Mountains. From Venezuela to Argentina, the Andes are the largest continental mountain range in the world, and they run directly through the Republic of Ecuador.
So I'm here in Ecuador. It's my first time here, but the research that I've done says that this is a really popular spot with backpackers, people into adventure sports, people into ecotourism. It's a relatively small country, and you can really get from one major city to the next within a few hours using the bus system. It's relatively inexpensive, and there's just so much to do.
Want to get high? Sitting at over 9,000 feet, Quito is the second highest governmental capital city in the world. The capital of Ecuador holds over 2 million inhabitants and more than a few curious travelers like me. Not surprisingly, the city's beautifully preserved historical buildings and magnificent monuments make Quito's old town a popular stop for turistas. The historic center in downtown courses with the frantic hustle and bustle of crowds. But you can't escape the feeling of yesteryear in this part of the regal city. One thing you'll find are churches, and lots of them. The Basilica del Voto Nacional is the biggest neo-Gothic designed basilica in the world, and it's a famous landmark of Quito. Construction started in 1884, and it's still not finished. The basilica, like a lot of historical buildings here, are frequently under renovation.
One of the things I like the most about Quito's old city is that everywhere you go, there's colonial architecture, hundreds of years old. As a matter of fact, throughout all of Latin America, they work really hard at restoring and retaining the original designs.
Ecuador's indigenous culture is visibly prominent in Quito, so hand-weaved products are very popular. Mountains and volcanoes surround Quito. The most conspicuous is Cotopaxi. Even though it sits at a distance, at the spectacular height of 19,000 feet, it's easy to get a good look at Cotopaxi from within Quito.
A really cool thing to do is to take the teleférico. It takes you to the highest point in Quito, and you get a really beautiful view of the city and the surrounding mountains.
In a ride that lasts over 40 minutes, you can rise above Quito, reaching over 13,000 feet on one of the highest aerial lifts in the world. It's a majestic place to just get away and breathe the cold and pure but thin air.
Looking at Quito from this point of view, from this high up, it makes me wonder what the indigenous people or the Spanish first thought of when they first saw it from this point of view. And could they ever envision that it would be anything like this?
Incredibly, the altitude didn't get to me, so I stopped by El Panecillo. Overlooking Quito at almost 10,000 feet, this monument is a representation of Quito's Madonna. And no, not the 80s pop star, we're talking the legendary Virgin Mary. Built in the 18th century, Calle La Ronda is a great place to stroll around and appreciate Quito's history.
One of the most beautiful neighborhoods in the old city is Calle La Ronda. It has cobblestone streets, really cool cafes and restaurants, and you know what? It's very romantic. Now, I'm traveling alone, but if I had someone special, this would be a great place to bring them.
That's right, ladies. Hard to believe, but yes, I'm single. Well, if you're into looking for love in all the wrong places, then you may want to hit the club and bar scene in La Mariscal, the international hangout zone in Quito. One of the things I like to do when I travel is check out the underground music scene. I had heard about a local punk band, Demeter, so I went to give them a listen.
First of all, can you tell me a little bit about the name, man? What does it mean, like fertility god or something like that, right?
Yeah, he's a Georgian god.
Okay.
He's a god of fertility and nature.
So basically, you guys are a punk band that incorporates punk music with nature, correct?
Yes.
So.
Okay.
It's a fusion in the lyrics.
Okay.
También con los temas sociales.
So you're not afraid to get a little political and tell things like it is, like any good punk band, right?
Right.
What is the scene like in Quito? I mean, just walking around, I see anarchy, graffiti, I see people with Ramones shirts. There seems to be like a really kick-ass punk scene in Quito, is that right?
So.
I'm too optimistic.
No es una banda que la ropa, teclados, no nos identifica a lo mejor de una manera radical.
Right.
Lo hemos adaptado a lo ecuatoriano y cantando la realidad en la que nosotros vivimos.
You can see my long hair.
Yeah, you can
it
see,
doesn't
I
matter.
hardly have hair. I think it's very easy to like your music. It has a fast beat, and I'm saying that without even understanding the lyrics. So if I understand the lyrics, I'm probably gonna like it even more, right?
Claro.
When I travel, I try to find at least one way to give back, even if it seems small, because I found that even the small things, they sometimes make a big difference. And for me, at least, it really makes the trip worthwhile.
We visited a school in Quito and gave the kids some much-needed school supplies. Someone suggested I teach them some English words. Now, spelling was never my strong suit, but luckily, these kids are smart.
¿Cómo se dice en inglés? Gracias.
Thank you.
Ah, bueno, excelente. To be honest with you, I didn't know what to expect because I've never really done this before. I'm not a teacher, and I was worried about, my qualifications. But when I got to the school, all my inhibitions sort of just melted away when I saw the kids, because the kids really are so honest and so genuine that it was really easy to relate to them. Sonrisa, smile. People who go on vacation, they want to incorporate volunteering into their agenda. I think it's really just a matter of doing a little bit of research before you come down. And once you get here, it's really not time consuming at all. It's maybe 30 minutes out of my day, but for them, they're going to talk about this all week. Okay, ciao. Bye, gracias por todo. Gracias, amigo.
So now it's time for someone to teach me something. After the break, I learn about the incredible Inca influence in Ecuador. We visit the middle of the world, literally. I bug out, and in case the crew starts acting up, I learn how to shrink their heads. Immense mountains and high altitudes are synonymous with Ecuador. Now, we might be stating the obvious when we tell you that Ecuador got its name from that horizontal line that splits the planet in two. You know, the equator.
This is a must-stop. We're in Mitad del Mundo, or the middle of the world. This is the place where tourists come to see the dividing line between the northern and southern hemispheres in Ecuador.
Just a few miles north of Quito is Mitad del Mundo, or middle of the world, a monument and museum which sits directly on the equator. Inside the monument, there's a museum of Ecuador's diverse influences, where you can learn about the different indigenous ethnic groups and their traditions. You can also find out about the African influence in Ecuadorian culture. Outside the monument, you'll find smaller museums, including a giant bug exhibition. And when I say giant, I mean the bugs.
These pinch bugs grow even bigger, believe it or not. They're native to the Amazon here in Ecuador, and they're one of the strongest insects around.
Before you leave, you can stop by yet another exhibit to get a short but fascinating history lesson on the international effort to study the equator in Ecuador. Turns out, locating the real center of the world is not that easy. Ancient indigenous people maintain that slightly north of the Mitad del Mundo is the actual center of the world. Nearby Sitio Inteñan also claims to be the real middle of the world. Confused? Me too. I went to Sitio Inteñan to see if I could help settle this middle of the world madness once and for all. Middle of the world or not, Sitio Inteñan is one of the most visited museums in the country.
This is the rotation movement of our planet, friend. It's from west to east. And also the real position of our planet at the universe is like this.
Okay.
The centrifugal forces begin on the line in the middle and they go to the poles.
Okay.
Crash on the poles and get back.
Okay.
And they cancel each other out here.
At
in
the
middle,
equator.
In the
Okay.
equator. And over here, friend, we will see that the water goes straight down. Look
Okay.
at this, friend.
Okay.
Look at the leaves at the surface.
Right.
That the water is going.
There's no
No whirlpool, no vortex. Straight down.
straight down.
That's gonna
That's how
happen
you
in the
know
world.
you're in the middle of the world.
Another reason. Do you remember what's gonna happen?
It's gonna go straight down.
No, on the south side.
Because we're actually a few feet south
Uh-huh.
of the
We
true
will see
center of
that.
the world. So it's gonna swirl.
And here you can see.
Oh, that's incredible.
That's going
Oh, that's
clockwise.
incredible.
That is the movement of typhoons in
Wow.
the south.
We're literally like maybe 3 or
meters
4
there.
feet, 2 meters to the south of the equator, and it changes everything.
Javier put me to the test. If we are truly in the middle of the world, then theoretically at least, the gravity should be centered, and I should be able to balance this egg on a nail, right?
Put your hands here and move it slowly.
Okay.
Little by little. You can find a point
Okay.
in the middle and you are going to do this. Huh?
Oh, wow, it looks easy, man.
Yeah, for me.
So we went head to head to see who could balance their egg first.
They did it.
You did it, yeah?
I got it, friend.
All right, man.
I won.
You won this time, but I'll be back, Javier. I'll be back.
I'm going to show you something about our indigenous culture.
Okay.
And here we have a real house, an original house.
Wow.
So this one is 135 years.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Yes. And here down where we are, they
Yeah.
used to have animals too, small animals.
Ah,
The
okay.
name is cuy. Have you heard about cuy?
Yeah, I think you eat cuy here,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
And this one is called cuy
Uh-huh.
because of the noise.
Okay.
When this one feels bad energies,
Uh-huh.
and it sounds
Okay.
like cuy, 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 cuy.
I'm not gonna eat you, dude.
You
Don't worry.
You remember
Don't worry.
these animals
Uh-huh.
were used by our indigenous
Right.
because they have their organs in the same way as human.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
And how did indigenous people know that, I wonder? I guess they slice.
Yeah, because they used to do some rituals. For example, if you're sick,
Yeah.
the shamans people get one of these
Uh-huh.
parts of your body,
Ah,
and after
okay.
this they open with their hands, not with a knife or something like that.
Yeah.
And they can see which part of the guinea pig's body has different aspect.
Really?
There's your problem.
He was so cute, I named him Snowball.
The ancient practice of shrinking human heads is outlawed in Ecuador, isn't it? Coming up, we'll find out. Then it's chow time as I sample some of Quito's typical street food. And later, we shop for some indigenous threads and listen to some incredible Andean music.
Money. Try traveling without it, and it's going to be a long trip. But luckily, thanks to ATMs, you can pretty much get cash almost anywhere you travel these days. Here are some money tips to try before your big trip. First, call your bank and let them know when and where you're going to be traveling, and make sure that you'll have access to your money at your destination. Secondly, bring enough cash for the first couple of days. I like to wait until I get to a destination before I exchange currency. That way I get a better rate. But if you're a little nervous, go ahead and do it. Get a couple days worth of currency and you'll feel better about things when you get there. And then thirdly, always bring a little stash of emergency cash and put it away somewhere safely. You never know what might happen, and chances are you're not going to need it, but it's always good to know it's there.
About 25 kilometers or 15 miles from Ecuador's capital city of Quito is Sitio Inteñan. Here you'll find one of the most interesting museums in the world. My guide Javier showed me real shrunken heads of actual people.
Okay, so Javier, this is a shrunken head?
Yeah, friend. That
Yeah?
was my last tourist.
Oh, really?
No, it's a
Who
joke.
asks stupid questions? That's what happens?
Today, head shrinking is still practiced in Ecuador, but only with animals. Traditionally, it was done for the really important people in a tribe, like a chief or a shaman when they died. It was also performed when the most important enemies were killed.
And here, friend, you can see that is the real human head.
Oh my God, are you serious? How old is
Yes,
it?
that one is 150 years old.
Really?
Was young, was 12 years. I think that was a chief's son or hunter's son.
Oh, wow.
Because I told you they used to do this when somebody was really important.
Right.
Next to this one, you can see an animal one.
Yeah.
So here, friend, you can see the first they cut off the head.
Uh-huh.
You can see 1, 2, and 3 steps.
So you got to cut off the head.
Yes. And then, in the 4th step, what do you think that they did?
I guess clean the brains? No?
Yeah, you have the idea, but they removed the skull.
Oh, they removed the skull. Oh, okay.
Without bones,
That makes sense. Yeah, because you got to be able to shrink it.
Exact.
Okay.
And then they prepare a substance with different kind of plants. We know some of them, but the rest of the plants nobody knows. That is the secret that they keep.
So they prepare a special soup, and basically they put the head in.
No.
No, that's not
They
it.
use just the steam.
Oh, just the steam. Oh, okay.
In
okay.
that step, the head is gonna be shrunk.
Wow. Okay, so a head like mine, how small could it get? Like maybe that big?
25% less, exact.
Today, shrinking human heads is illegal in Ecuador, or so I was told.
And so ever since they stopped the practice of shrinking heads, tourism has picked up because people don't have to worry about, like,
Yeah.
coming down here and getting their head shrunk.
Indigenous history is pretty easy to find in these parts. I heard about an ancient Inca ruin just outside of Quito.
The Incas built this fort really high up for a couple of reasons. One is it provided a natural protection against their enemies. They could see them advancing long before they ever got here. And secondly, they felt like it got them closer to their god, the god of the sun.
This is an incredible site with amazing views over the valley below. Just the fact that the Incas were here and built this centuries ago helps you appreciate all this ancient culture has accomplished. Traveling always makes me hungry. In Quito, street food really hits the spot.
I think I should try some menudo. I haven't had. ¿Es posible un poco menudo? ¿Qué es esto? Sangre. Okay, un poco, sí. You know, it's normal. This is menudo, which I've never had before. I thought it was a band from Puerto Rico, but it's also a meal, I guess, in Quito.
Well, in my opinion, the food menudo was much better than the band menudo.
Coming up, it's time I shared my musical talents with the rest of the world. I'll try to blend in by shopping for clothes at the Rawtravel market. And I'm forced to eat my friends when I try the Ecuadorian staple of cuy, or guinea pig. Traveling through Ecuador by bus is cheap. You can easily visit small towns south of Quito like Riobamba. No, Riobamba is not the latest dance or workout craze, but it is a cool little town with lots of history. Even closer to Quito is the charming indigenous town of Rawtravel. It's very quaint, traditional, and is a haven for shoppers, like me.
Rawtravel is famous for its poncho market. Now the big day is Saturday, but really you can come any day and you're going to find all kinds of cool stuff made locally by the indigenous artisans.
I tried on a poncho, but I just couldn't see myself walking around the streets of New York City in this thing, so I passed. The market is big, so be sure to have plenty of time, money, and either lots of willpower or some extra luggage to haul your goodies back home.
If you want to get a really unique handmade tablecloth or curtain, Rawtravel is worth the trip, because for $24 you're going to get something really, really beautiful.
The llama is an iconic animal in Ecuador and other Andean areas. The alpaca is similar, but typically bears more wool. Their wool makes cozy rugs and warm shirts, perfect for those chilly nights in the mountains.
So the dreamcatcher is an art form that originates from Native Americans in North America. But the indigenous people from South America traveled north and they liked the art form, so they brought it back here. So you'll see these all over South America, including Ecuador.
The Rawtravel market has a wide selection of Andean musical instruments, but for a real musical treat, you should visit Ñanda Mariachi on the outskirts of town. Jose Luis gives demonstrations on ancestral flute building. In ancient times, these instruments were actually made of ceramic, but today they are typically made of bamboo. Jose Luis can make up to 150 small flutes a day.
This is typical of Ecuador, and what is the name?
This is rondador.
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 So why not? It looks easy. Then there are instruments used for communication like the churro. My exes always did say I needed to learn to communicate better.
Wow! Bravo!
Let's try something I can play. This is much easier. What is this?
This is chachas.
Chachas,
Chachas.
okay. And what is this made of?
This is Andean instrument.
An Andean instrument?
The llama.
This is the toenail of the llama.
The llama.
So this is, oh wow, very cool, okay.
Jose Luis showed me some flutes from Peru and Bolivia.
I think smaller, pequeña es más fácil. The smaller is easy. Igual, easy.
Sí.
And this is made of wood.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful wood. Yeah. That's beautiful. But I like this because it's armadillo. I don't know why. Killing of innocent animals turns me on. So Jose Luis and his family were kind enough to make me a typical Andean meal, cuy. And according to indigenous custom, when food is offered, you really need to eat it. So I'm gonna give it a try.
Sorry, Snowball.
It looks much more appetizing now than when they first showed it to me. And so long as I don't think about what I'm eating, it actually is very, very good.
Ecuador is a small country with a big heart and lots of soul. Incredible indigenous cultures, beautiful biodiversity, and an emerging ecotourism industry. It's got some of the highest altitude peaks in the world, along with coastal beaches and some of the best waves in Latin America. But as always, it boils down to the people. I'll always remember the laughter from the children, the hospitality shown to us by complete strangers who are now our friends, and chatting with indigenous grandmas. And while sometimes we were light years away culturally, we all seem to understand the value of a heartfelt smile.
Eating cuy, playing the Andean flute, and hanging out in Otavalo has really connected me to the indigenous culture in Ecuador. Borders feel somewhat meaningless. No matter if someone lives in Peru, Bolivia, or Ecuador, they appear to be tied together by their Andean culture. It seems that these massive mountains connect South America spiritually as well as physically. As a traveler, I can't help but feel that spiritual connection as well. It's a feeling I hope to tap into often to help me keep perspective when I return to my everyday life.